I have to make a correction. In my last video, I said that buoy 41049 was within 100 miles of the eye of the hurricane, which is correct, but I had it plotted 100 miles to the south, and it actually should have been 100 miles to the north. Now, that doesn't change anything, thank God, because the wind speeds remain the same. I showed you the data as they were recorded, but what I had actually plotted on Google Earth showed it in the wrong spot. It should have been 100 miles to the northeast. Instead, I put it 100 miles to the southwest. I still don't know how I did that, but luckily for us, the information does not change because the observations of the NOAA information and the buoy wind speeds and so forth remain the same. But I just want to clarify that, and if anybody actually included that information and you're concerned about it, just put the links to this particular video in your description, because as I said, the data itself did not change, just the place where I marked it on Google Earth was wrong. So I apologize for that. And just to reiterate it, let me show you. I will draw a little map for you here, a little line to show you that I had the buoy about 110 miles to the southeast of the eye of the hurricane, when actually it should have been about 100 miles to the north. No, to the southwest of the hurricane. It should have been to the northeast, about 100. If anything, the argument is stronger because the buoy is actually located about 10 miles closer to the eye of the hurricane. And since I went over data that spanned the course of 3 days, any wind speeds, even close to hurricane strength, or even half of hurricane strength, should have registered on this buoy, and it did not. Now what we have is we have this buoy over here, and I will show you that buoy 41047 is located at 27.5 and 71.5, and you can see right where I have this buoy is at 27.5 and 71.5. So I actually have it right this time, and I apologize for the error from before. Now, this buoy is not as close. This buoy is within 120 to 130 miles of the eye of the hurricane. However, based on the information that NOAA has given us, the radius of the eye of this hurricane is 170 to 175 miles from the eye of the hurricane, which means this buoy should still be being rocked, just like the other one, by tropical force storm winds at the very least. What are tropical storm force winds? They are winds between 39 and 73 miles an hour, or 34 to 63 knots. So let's take a look at this buoy here and see if we're getting wind speeds anywhere close to 34 to 63 knots. Because if it drops below 34 knots, it's not tropical storm strength winds, and it should not be in the radius of the eye of this hurricane, because they're telling us that this hurricane actually extends 40 miles beyond this buoy. All right, so let's take a peek here. What data do we have for that particular buoy? Let's look. Here's wind speeds, and here are gusts. So we need to see wind speeds at the speed of 34 knots. Do we see that at all? 34 knots. I see 17.5, 19.4, 23.3, 25.3. We're getting close. 27.2, 27.2. And then it starts dropping again. 19, 17, 19. So we do not see wind speeds even close to the minimum, the absolute minimum that we should see for a tropical storm, which would be 34 to 63. So we are a good 7 knots below anything that's even close to tropical storm, let alone hurricane. All right, now I just want to point that out. This is exactly what we saw at this buoy when this storm passed by, and it's what we're seeing here at this buoy. Now, I want to go over some concerns that I have about this buoy, about this hurricane in general. First of all, let me reiterate the fact that I've traced 4 of these so far this year. This is number 4, and the first 2 were in Hawaii. And as I pointed out, the thing to trace was the fact that the closest buoy we had to where these alleged hurricanes were coming from was so far away from the actual storm that I couldn't trace it. Now, there's a really good reason why Hawaii doesn't get hurricanes. I mean, we've had one hurricane in the last 100 years, and supposedly we had 2 this summer that we couldn't register. Well, it's not that Hawaii doesn't get storms, okay? They do. They get typhoons and stuff. And all of the buoys that NOAA has tons of buoys out here. But none of them, conveniently, were in the trajectory that the storm was coming from. Now, the storm, I wish I had known this at the time I was checking this during the Hawaii storms, the water needs to be at least 82 degrees for it to be a hurricane. And you're not going to get those kinds of temperatures out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean.